guys, welcome to Bastian time. Official Nintendo magazine quite a while back collected 10 secrets and facts about the Zelda series, and then recently they went ahead and compiled a list of 10 more amazing Zelda facts and secrets, and most of these are things that we already know, which is kind of a letdown, but one of the things that they mentioned is something I think I might have read once and then completely forgot about, and I thank the Golden Goddesses that they mentioned it again, because it sort of allowed me to go on a bit of an adventure, which is Link's Awakening, the Game Boy game, actually uses the engine and some graphics and actually a character to specifically Prince Richard. If you've played Link's Awakening, you'll remember him. It's borrowing all of this stuff, more importantly, the engine of an earlier Game Boy Nintendo game that was only released in Japan, but the Japanese title translates into For the Frog the Bell Tolls, which obviously is a play on, I think it's Hemingway's For Whom the Bell Tolls. But anyways, it's an amazing game, and I know this because after learning that Link's Awakening borrowed all of these things from it, decided, well, I've got to play it. And so thank goodness, just last year, a fan translator created a translation patch for the game, and all of these years later, and like a decade later, 2 decades later, 20 years later, wow. And it's so much fun. It is kind of similar to Zelda in a lot of respects, but very different from Zelda. It's more of a RPG than Zelda is, for instance. But anyways, it's great, and it's just interesting to see these various things that ended up in Link's Awakening. Just random weird things like the bookshelf graphic and so on. So anyways, if you want to check out these other 9 facts and secrets, there's a link for you down below. And as you can probably guess, yeah, I'm probably going to be doing a Games Like Zelda episode on For the Frog the Bell Tolls, because I've been completely addicted to it since I found out about it 3 days ago, and have been playing it non-stop, almost done. So anyways, stay tuned for that at some point. Next up is an amazing Papercraft piece of Toon Link, and this particular picture maybe doesn't showcase it best of all. You can't really tell that his face is completely round and 3D. It's just, I can't even imagine the painstaking work it takes to create something like this. I couldn't do it, but anyways, good job, Papercrafter. And speaking of Paper and Zelda, over at IGN there was a blog about Paper Zelda that made the rounds across the video game websites recently, and basically it's just somebody begging for Paper Zelda, and I don't know, I'm of two minds about the idea of a Paper Zelda. First of all, I think it's highly unlikely that Nintendo would ever do Paper Zelda, simply because, yeah, there's Paper Mario, but there was Mario RPG, there's all kinds of sports Mario games, soccer and Olympics, and it's like Mario is Nintendo's sandbox that they get to play in and then create these different projects from. And Zelda is something that they sort of keep closer to their chest and don't really experiment too much with. They just sort of, I mean, Four Swords was kind of a big experiment, and I don't know, I just don't see them doing a Paper Zelda, but if they did, I think it would be pretty awesome. It would certainly be unusual, because, I mean, Paper Mario, for all intents and purposes, is an RPG, so it would be really interesting to see Zelda as an RPG. Maybe they would even have to do a side-scrolly thing, in which case they could sort of harken back to Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, and maybe have a game that takes place directly after that, or in that era or something, but with super fancy new graphic paper versions. Could be really awesome, actually. So, anyways, I'd like to see Paper Zelda, but I seriously doubt that Nintendo's ever going to actually do it. And then our final story is about Battle Quest, which I'm sure many of you have already played. In fact, I bet there are some of you who've even already completed every single stage in it. So this will come as no shocker to you that several of the stages in Battle Quest are based directly on Skyward Sword temples and dungeons. For instance, the Fire Temple. And that's not to say that they use the layout of the dungeon and the same puzzles and so on, but simply that they use like the architectural style, the basic graphics design for that. And I think this is just simply because it's the most recent Zelda game to when they were making Battle Quest, and I guess they probably just figured, it's not too much of an effort to just reuse some of those assets or base their designs on those. I bet that eventually there are going to be some timeline theorists that are going to try to use the fact that graphically they're kind of linked as a way of placing Battle Quest in the timeline, which is kind of crazy because I'm pretty sure Battle Quest is not meant to be in the timeline whatsoever. But anyways, that's going to be fun to see on the forums. So that's it for this episode of Zelda News. Of course, tomorrow is the second Nintendo News episode, and I'll see you then. Bye!